Preservation is getting a host of new changes in the Midnight Alpha for World of Warcraft, and I'm pumped to be able to bring them all to you today. The changes are good. I have a lot of really positive things to say, but we do have to go over quite a lot of the changes, and I know there's some concerns out there, and I want to help alleviate them. There's also been a healer rework, a lot of trimming of extra buttons, and that's not just on Preservation, that's across every spec in the game. So I'm going to provide some of my thoughts, but some of these thoughts might be too lengthy for this video, and so I plan on releasing some of my rantier videos on my second channel, which you can find down below. But for today, let's focus in on the wonderful changes coming to Preservation. My name is Bowser the Healer, and let's dive right into this one. Let's start by talking about that healer rework. I'll have the link down below if you would like to see the full post yourself, but I'll summarize. The biggest changes are that they want to move away from having so many large rotational cooldowns that you simply cycle through a raid, heal up the whole raid, and clear the fight, and more of a focus on your core kit and the interactions there. And I'm happy to report none of the healers have concerned me in this regard. Yes, they've chopped away some cooldowns, but no, I don't feel like they've hurt skill expression or anything like that. There's still plenty of tools here to use and very cool and interesting interactions that you're going to have a lot of fun exploring. But with these changes, they also want to slow down healing, making it so that it takes longer to heal up a whole party or an entire raid. And I don't disagree with that. I think that'll be a little more fun and maybe for me in a raid. And in dungeons, as long as things don't scale out of control, that should work well too. Now, I will say Mythic Plus does concern me a little bit, but the health modifier and damage modifier of Mythic Plus could scale differently. Like imagine you hit a plus 15 and the damage no longer scales nearly as hard as the health does. This means as you go to 16s and 17s, the dungeons will get harder, DPS need to do more damage, tanks need to pull better, and the healer needs to do that similar amount of healing or maybe a little bit more healing, but for longer periods of time. So it'll still stress out a healer, but it won't scale to the point where you're always in need of a discipline priest in order to survive something trivial 4 keys ago. I'm not too worried about this whole rework business, and actually for the tanks and even the DPS I've checked out, I really think they're doing a good job of this. I know not everyone's happy out there with their favorite spec, but if you do have any suggestions for your favorite specs, they are listening right now. Please provide that feedback on the forums or any other channels that you can so that Blizzard can see it. Now, before we go into all of the patch notes and everything that changed, and I'm going to do a full read of the patch notes on my slower video that I'll post on the VOD channel in probably the next day or two. For this video, I have a concern list though. These are the things that my chat brought up to me that they were worried about with Preservation so that I can help navigate you through all the changes. Let's start at the top. Do you need to relearn Preservation, Chronowarden, or Flameshaper? Okay, the hard truth about World of Warcraft is this game changes every patch, every season, and every expansion. Yes, you're going to have to relearn some parts of Preservation. No, I don't worry about it though, because the core mechanics that they're focusing on are all things you already know as a Preservation player. If you're learning Prez, all of the core skills that you learn right now are going to transfer brilliantly as you learn the new Prez. It's not a complete overhaul, but there are a lot of changes here that you're going to need to work around. But this is par for the course for World of Warcraft. I'm not too worried about what's happening here. It's not like the spec is completely transformed into something that it isn't, so don't worry about that. Chronowarden is maybe the most similar right now, and it still retains that closest to Dragonflight style Preservation that we have, but it's got some new tricks up its sleeve, and I'm really excited to go over them with you later in the video. Flameshaper, on the other hand, got a massive rework. It's not dead, don't worry, it's actually really cool and a lot smoother, but a lot of the interactions have changed, and so do temper your expectations for Flameshaper, as it will no longer be the behemoth it is now, but it's also nowhere near as clunky, and I think it's a genuine, pretty big improvement, as long as the encounter design is, you know, healthy for healers. This is a good time to mention, we have lost a couple of talents. Emerald Communion is completely gone, which goes in line with the removing cooldowns. Cycles of Life is gone, which was a very fun talent and very cool during Abyss of Dragonflight. However, there's some more consistent Blossom setups now with the new talents and better interactions with Blossoms as well. So I don't think we're going to be missing Cycles of Life, but it was really cool back in Abyss. You served us well. Engulf is also missing. Flameshaper players, you have a new way to consume flame and it works entirely differently, so you no longer have to press the oftentimes clunky Engulf. And Spirit Bloom is gone. I know that's the hardest one to hear, but I promise you, the changes to Dream Breath make it so that Dream Breath will be replacing Spirit Bloom in terms of your major healing button. And with our new Apex talents, you're going to get a move called Marithra's Blessing, and I'll be going over it in a little bit, but it will definitely fill the gap of Spirit Bloom quite nicely in line with the healer rework changes. So don't fear it, but it was one of my favorite buttons and I will be missing it dearly. Now that we talked about Spirit Bloom, let's talk about Lifebind. Lifebind no longer works through echoes. It is, I think, stronger at 60% transferred healing, but yeah, it's no longer going to work through echoes. You can't set up a bunch of echoes, Lifebind, full charge of Spirit Bloom, or set up a massive engulf and heal the whole raid. Now, that is part of what they would like to avoid, but also, I used to play without Lifebind, and that was because players told me you absolutely had to have it, but Preservation was strong enough before I felt, no you don't, you can play without Lifebind, and I've done it every single season, usually just to prove the point. You're going to be fine without Lifebind. There's enough new interactions in healing tools here that you'll find that with it being weaker and less useful, you're still going to find plenty of routes to do your AoE healing. Also, there is a talent coming up that will technically allow you to get a lot of these out, but it doesn't quite work with Lifebind the way you think it does, and it's actually one of my notes I'll be bringing up for suggestions that I want to see changed in Preservation. Blossoms are better. Can I use them? Are they going to be more viable? Do I have to use them if I didn't like them? All of the above, actually. You don't have to use the Blossoms if you don't like them, but they're buffed, and they have more talent support. So yeah, they have been straight up buffed. You can still have them heal 5 targets, which is great, but there's 2 really core changes in the spec tree and one in Flameshaper. First of all, Field of Dreams now says that every other Emerald Blossom has a 100% chance for one of your fluttering seedlings to grow into a new Emerald Blossom, making the setup easier and more consistent, something that I'm extremely happy to see. We lost Cycles of Life, but we gained this better Field of Dreams. I'm going to say that that's a pretty big W given everything else. Also, Twin Echoes. By casting an Emerald Blossom, you're going to get a copied version of your Echo, hitting an additional ally within 25 yards for 100% effectiveness. When you consider that you can get some pretty powerful Echoes out of the new and improved Titan's Gift, you're going to be able to duplicate that larger healing as well. And it means because Blossoms no longer interact with Echoes, you could heal the raid up with a bunch of Emerald Blossoms and then swap over to your Echoes, and then you'll be getting double on those. Now, you're going to want to drop a Blossom and then use an Echo to really optimize that, but even just getting one double Echo from casting a Blossom is going to have some nice benefits, especially when you know that the new Consume Flame is going to be procced with Verdant Embrace and Emerald Blossom, meaning that you can get these Blossoms out, you could Lifebind people while consuming Flame, and then you're going to get these Twin Echoes going out after the fact. I really like what they've done to Blossoms, but there might be a chance you don't even play into them, and that's fine too, because there's so much talent support right now for multiple playstyles. If you don't want to focus on the Blossoms, so be it, but it might still be a good heal even at 3 targets for you, a tank, and a DPS if you have some extra essence to drop and you just want to do some AoE healing. So you might actually consider using your Blossoms with no talents, which is pretty nice. But if you wish to ignore them still, you can probably still get away with it. Okay, Emerald Communion is missing. What are your options? Yeah, Emerald Communion is now just a PvP talent, and I am going to miss it, but we are limited in how many cooldowns we now have available. Rewind is learned by default up here, and you can still cooldown Rewind to be a 2-minute. So if you would like more emergency cooldowns, you can play around that. But Stasis and Dreamflight now share a node, but I have some very good news for you. First of all, both of these are quite powerful and usable in dungeons as well as raids, so you might find one build prefers one or the other, or is more useful to use, and that's just going to be entirely up to preference or the healing profile you're going for. But down below is a new talent, Inner Flame. For 15 seconds after casting Stasis, your healing over time is increased by 60%, and your chance to cause an Essence Burst is increased by 100%. That is very powerful for your heal over time effects. And as you can imagine, this could be a lot of extra Blossoms if you play your cards right too. This means if you want to play more into the heal over time effects of say your Dream Flight and your Dream Breaths, etc., you really can, or you can ignore it and go for more bursty heals. It provides some nice flavor for our major cooldowns, but yeah, we're kind of just on 2 major cooldowns, but trust me, that's across the board. Mistweaver, Disciplined Priest, Holy Priest, etc. are all revolving around that 2 something cooldowns that they really get to use. So this shouldn't feel too out of the ordinary compared to other healers. It might just feel weird compared to the War Within right now. Is it possible to do sustained AoE healing? I had someone come into my chat talking about Big Mama from Floodgate, and could you still heal something like that? And I'll play a clip I'm going to probably play multiple times today, but I was just faffing about. I have no damage targets and no way to restore my mana, and I'm able to sustain quite a lot of AoE healing for a large period of time just messing around. I'm not too worried about our AoE healing, but our healing is less than it was before. As long as encounter design matches that philosophy, that'll be fine. And I already gave my 2 cents on Mythic Plus and my concerns with endless scaling there. I think we're going to be okay. Is Flameshaper dead in Raid? So Consume Flame has been changed, and I'll be going over it more when I talk Flameshaper, but note that Consuming Flame heals the target. It no longer heals everyone around them. So when you detonate the Dream Breath, you're just doing a chunk of healing to that target. But Emerald Blossoms can hit 5 targets, so it's possible to heal up an entire raid with your Dream Breath and start dropping these big blossoms and smart healing the raid and Consuming Flame, getting even more value out of that healing. All of the AoE healing has been nuked across the board to be a little more in line with these design philosophies. Even Disciplined Priest is doing less AoE healing while still doing what it's known to do. So Consume Flame is no longer going to be your one-stop shop. You engulf yourself, you heal up the whole raid, and you blast everything. No, Consume Flame is going to be a little more granular than that. But as a whole, Flameshaper feels a lot better and a lot smoother. And I think a lot of you are going to have fun with the new changes once you get used to them. So I wouldn't overthink or over worry about this one. But yes, Flameshaper the way you know it right now in the War Within is dead. But there's a new one, and again, I think you're going to like it a lot. On the talent tree side of things, the left side of the tree has barely changed. There are some cool ones, like Unravel is now that your Fire Breath will do the extra shield damage, which is quite cool, but you have actually more talent points to work with overall. You get 3 new Evoker talent points, you get everything inside of your hero tree, so all the new talents will be able to be cleared, and Preservation will get 4 more talent points. This allows you to fully invest in the Apex talents if you so choose, or mix and match and go for some more stuff inside of the Preservation tree. Now, you're probably going to be grabbing our Apex talents because they're really good. However, I like the flexibility, and on some specs I'm only grabbing 1 or 2 of the Apex talents because I find that the base kit and its changes make me want to push into its base kit more, which again I think is why the design philosophy that Blizzard's going for here will really work. I'm excited to use the baseline kits. I'm excited to play Holy Paladin. Yeah, you haven't heard me say that since Shadowlands, I'm just saying. So let's go through these changes. On the right side, nothing has really changed at the top here, except Lifebind is now located here. Again, it is weaker than it was before, as it can no longer be echoed, but its new location, it's kind of a mandatory grab, so you'll be using other things in the place of what you were using for your major Lifebind heals before, and you'll still find some use cases for Lifebind in the current setup. Unshakable is here instead of being here, and while I'm at it, Grace Period is no longer down here, it's now available right up here, meaning we're always going to be able to use these awesome Grace Period optimizations if we're opting into this right side of the tree, something that I'm very, very pumped about. Spiritual Clarity, which used to reduce the cooldown of Spirit Bloom, is now reducing the cooldown of Dream Breath, and with how much more flexible Dream Breath is, I'm very happy that it's going to be up much more often. If we lost Spirit Bloom and the cooldown reduction on it, I'd be worried. But Spiritual Clarity affecting Dream Breath is exactly what the doctor ordered. Call of Ysera is unchanged, but given how much more important Dream Breath is, you're basically going to want this every single time. And then Life Giver's Flame is this beautiful connecting node for the way that I'm most likely to build. And so Fire Breath being a nice heal and a good damaging move, it's great to see that it's easy to pick up. Machine gun builds, I wasn't really grabbing this before, but we're kind of away from the machine gun build, and so I'm back to grabbing it. That being said, I think there's a world where we still do machine gun preservation, so if you're excited about playing something like machine gun preservation, don't worry. I think there's a compatibility for it here with the new season and the new expansion. Down here at the left is 2 of the newest talents. We have Dream Simulacrum and Wings of Liberty. Dream Simulacrum makes your Verdant Embrace 40% stronger, and instead, you no longer launch yourself at the target, you now heal from ranged, and a simulacrum of you goes up and hugs the target for the healing. I love this change, but I do wonder if maybe this should be a choice node on Verdant Embrace to pick between ranged or dashing Verdant Embrace. I just think that that might be better from an accessibility standpoint, that people can choose if they want to launch themselves or not. I personally like launching myself around, and they made the next talent, I think, just for me. Wings of Liberty. Verdant Embrace may be used up to 2 extra times within 3 seconds with no cooldown. Now, you'll hear this right now, I do think it should be 4 or maybe 5 seconds, as it's a little tight to combo things together, but Wings of Liberty does give you multiple Call of Ysera procs, so it's entirely possible to Verdant Embrace to something, and then hit a Dream Breath, and then Verdant Embrace, and then Verdant Embrace, and then like Living Flame. But it's a little tight to try to fit everything in. You can even echo between every Verdant Embrace, but it's very haste dependent, and I think just a little bit of breathing room here would really help. And yes, that does apply Lifebind to every target you hit. It just doesn't extend the timer on Lifebind, which I think could be a cool way to let Lifebind live a little longer, but if they want Lifebind to die for being a massive AoE heal, then they're probably going to keep it the way that it is. Titan's Gift is now located down here, and it's actually quite a bit stronger. I think this is a really good pickup now because you're going to have access to more Essence Bursts and more Echoes, and I feel like Titan's Gift is a great way to get even more value out of those big windows. Up here in the center, nothing has really changed, although I did go over the Field of Dreams change, being every other blossom is going to grant an extra growing blossom, so we'd love to see that. Right here in the middle, though, is where Dreamflight and Stasis are. You have to pick between one, but both of these are quite good. And below it is the talent I talked about earlier, where after hitting your major cooldown, you're going to get 60% increased healing over time effects, and you're going to get 100% Essence Burst chance window for that 15 seconds, which is really powerful, especially for those aforementioned potential Blossom builds, or just for getting a bazillion Echoes out. I've actually been deciding between these two talents if I want Inner Flame or Titan's Gift, but they both feel really good. Life Force Mender is unchanged, and Life Spark below it for the instant cast Living Flames is also unchanged. The new position for Grace Period is quite good, and by the way, if you're joining us and you're like new to Preservation or you're coming back to Prez after not playing it for a while, we get 2 charges of Time Dilation now. This talent's crazy. This makes Time Dilation have a 15% absorb on it instead. And then Unshakable over here just makes your empowered spells 10% more effective, and you can't get knocked back while charging. Very cool talents if you miss them. And there's another one we're about to talk about as well, Tempo Charged. But Grace Period is now located here. The better position I mentioned earlier is great. Temporal Artificer is still here, making your rewind a 2-minute if you want to go that route. Time of Need is still here, and this is a sleeper talent. I love having it, and it might be even more valuable now because you're going to be healing people up slower. Remember, background healing is busted. If we can have Time of Need proccing and helping our allies out, it might be a huge boon to the way new healing profiles work, but I'm going to have to get my feet wet with some content in order to report on that. Timeless Magic has not changed, and then down below is Tempo Charge, a tier set from ours from the War Within, that hitting temporal compression stacks every time we use a bronze spell, our empowered spell will release or will charge up 10% faster, stacking up to 4 times. Well, for each of those 4 stacks, we're going to get 5%, maxing out at 20%, meaning if you have 4 temporal compression stacks, you're going to get a 20% stronger Fire Breath or Dream Breath. Awesome talent, I love it, and I might be able to leave home without it, but damn do I really like Tempo Charged. And over here, Twin Echoes, as I said earlier, is a fantastic new talent, allowing you to get an extra Echo after pressing Blossom. So hit an Emerald Blossom, echo a target, and a nearby target will also be echoed at 100% effectiveness. Down here, you'll find the Apex talents, the new feature coming to midnight. And not every Apex talent is the same. Ours is a node that then goes to the right or left. Some classes have a node and then it goes to another node and another node. They're all different, and they don't play into your hero talents that much. They're actually very strong parts of your core kit. You can completely ignore them if you want to put in more talent points. I could clean up 2 talent points down here and grab some more powerful stuff that I'm looking for. But they're so powerful, I'm going to recommend them in their current state. Marithra's Blessing says that our essence abilities have a chance to infuse your next reversion with the power of the green dragonflight, upgrading it to Marithra's Blessing. Spring a bloom of life from your target, healing them and up to 5 other allies within 30 yards for a decent amount of healing. Blooms may heal your primary target multiple times if there's no other injured allies present. And The next talent to it is going to make our Dream Breath hit 125% harder for the instant part of Dream Breath, and it'll always give us a Marithra's Blessing. This means that after you cast Dream Breath, you can fire this bouncy, fun little move around, and on its own, it does look pretty decent, but while it can't go into a stasis, it can be echoed, and so it is entirely possible to have a couple of echoes down. Oh, sorry, I did that in the wrong order, but I'll throw a temporal anomaly, right? We'll echo 2 targets, and then we'll fire off a Marithra's Blessing, and as you can see, there's an absurd amount of bouncing heals around. It's sort of like Prayer of Mending met Spirit Bloom, and it's quite fun to use. Now, it also does apply an actual reversion to the target. So if you go and hit a target with Marithra's Blessing, you will also apply your reversion to them, and it will consume one of the charges, but that's okay. The 2-for-1 on a move with a short cooldown like reversion is a-okay by me. The talent to the left says that reversion protects allies, reversing 2 and then 4% of all damage taken and healing them instead. I like this talent, but I don't know if I'm going to play into it immediately, but I do know on the Mythic Plus side of things, if there's a lot of single target damage, this is going to come in clutch. I'm also definitely grabbing this when I play PvP. The Apex talents feel good, and because Dream Breath is sort of our new filler big Spirit Bloom heal, you could say get yourself a Call of Ysera buff, fully charge a Dream Breath for a massive amount of healing, throw out a temporal anomaly, maybe echo a target or 2 that's hurting, and then hit yourself a Marithra's Blessing for a lot of bouncing healing, and it's going to be a ton of healing. By the way, apologies if you see a little like heal bouncing around. That's actually part of Flameshaper. We'll talk about that in a little bit. I was supposed to do this part on Chronowarden, but I forgot between takes. That's a my bad thing. One more final thing. Marithra's Blessing can't make it into a stasis. However, any Dream Breaths that you have in the stasis can and will give you a Marithra's Blessing. So it's entirely possible to say, throw out a Marithra's Blessing, and then hit your Dream Breath, and then throw out a Marithra's Blessing, and then you can hit your stasis, and then get a Marithra's Blessing, and then all of those can be echoed, and you can throw out temporal anomalies and get even more healing out of it. So there are going to still be some crazy setups. You're just not going to be able to load up your stasis with a million Marithra's Blessings. I'm not sure if that's a bug or a feature, but there's plenty of healing combinations to be had. I'm sure you're going to find some cool ways to make it all work. But now let's go take a dive into those hero talents. I'm going to start with the Chronowarden side of things, as it is the most similar to that Dragonflight style preservation healing, and while it's got some new tricks up its sleeves, I think it's the easiest to follow along with. So you get all of the hero talents in case you missed that earlier. You're not going to be picking and choosing here unless you're leveling still. We still have Warp, we still have Motes of Acceleration and Temporality, we still have Double Time and Time Convergence, and After Images. Our empowered spells send out the Chrono Flames. All of that is intact. Temporal Burst, that big buff we get when we hit Tip the Scales, is also still here. Threads of Fate is here as well to buff our allies, and of course you can still go Master of Destiny, or my personal favorite, Instability Matrix, to reduce the cooldown of your empowered spells after you use them. New though is Chrono Boon, where your Tip the Scales will be reduced by 30 seconds. It's not the 1 minute one that we have on our tier set right now, but hey, you know what? I'll take it. Energy Cycle says that Temporal Burst grants Essence Burst every 6 seconds. This means that after you hit Tip the Scales, you're going to get 5 Essence Burst 6 seconds apart, and it's a lot of essence to be getting. This is going to allow you to set up crazy Blossom setups, crazy Echo setups, whatever your heart desires, making Tip the Scales feel like an additional big power window. I already liked how it felt as a 2 minute, now at a 1:30, it'll line up nicely with Stasis or be flexible with other healing windows. Happy to see this here. We also have Chrono Flame's maximum damage or healing is increased by 40%, up to 7,466, and that's not going to make a whole lot of sense given the item squish, but when you first throw a Chrono Flame, you get a repeat of the amount of healing. But as you keep healing the target, I got a crit there, that ruined my poor example, but essentially, if you've been healing a target and then you hit them with a Chrono Flame, you're going to get a lot of follow-up healing on them. So it'll make healing people up after the fact even better, or sustained Living Flame healing will now be stronger because of the Chrono Flame effect. This also does work on damage as well, so as you continue to damage target, you'll be getting even more out of those Chrono Flames, which is great to see. Reverberations has been changed to work with Spirit Bloom and now works with Verdant Embrace, and yes, if you decide to echo your Verdant Embrace, you will be getting all of the haste buffs from Primacy, granting you 3% flat haste up to 9 as long as you get those heal over time effects out. And then Golden Opportunity has been changed because honestly, it was kind of hard to track that it was like you had a Golden Opportunity up. Echo is just 10% more effective. I much prefer this, and it does combine with effects such as Titan's Gift. So you're going to get some pretty powerful echoes out. It also means that your temporal anomalies now provide a true 50% copied healing as opposed to the 45%. I always refer to them as like half echoes, but now they're genuinely half of 100%, so it feels even more fitting to say that. Chronowarden feels very smooth. It feels good. I wonder if it's going to be as strong as Flameshaper. Flameshaper's looking really tempting, but I really like what I see here, and I think the buffs are a lot of fun. I would kill for some twin flames like you get on Augmentation, but I don't think I have a lot to worry about. And of course, getting all those extra essence bursts out in the follow-up Chrono Flames is still really powerful. You're still going to see me testing this one in dungeons, but Flameshaper is more viable in dungeons than ever before, and I think both Chronowarden and Flameshaper will be fine in raid, but that's one I'm going to have to really test because I need to actually play it in order to tell you how good it is, but I'm keeping my hopes up. But now let's talk about Flameshaper. Flameshaper has gotten a lot of changes, so I'm going to read through all of it. However, the first one's the most important. Dream Breath gains an additional charge. You heard it here first. So in case you were missing Spirit Bloom, well, what if you just had 2 Dream Breaths? Dream Breath can be both a large AoE heal, or you can make it a big heal over time, or both. And you could double them both up if you play your echoes correctly. This is a huge change, and it really does make it feel more like a Flame Shaper or a Breath Shaper. Happy to see this one. Most of these on the left I think are unchanged. Trailblazer, Shape of Flame, Conduit of Flame, and Titanic Precision I think are all exactly the same. If they're not and I missed a note, that's on me, but these aren't the big ones, so I'm not super worried about it. Ashes in Motion says that Fire Breath's cooldown is reduced by 5 seconds. Burning Adrenaline says that Fire Breath and Dream Breath reach their maximum power level 20% faster. Fire Breath's damage over time lasts 4 seconds longer, and Dream Breath's 6 seconds longer. This is huge, by the way, given that when you full charge a Dream Breath, you're still going to get a pretty beefy heal over time on the target. So using it like a Spirit Bloom to be your big AoE heal isn't going to be punishing on Flameshaper, so I'm really happy to see that here. Enkindle and Expanded Lungs are both here as well, and I believe unchanged, or maybe their values were adjusted, but that's about it. Fulminous Roar, Fire Breath, and Dream Breath deal their damage and healing 20% more often, meaning that a level 1 Fire Breath on a group of mobs is still quite a nice AoE heal, but if you want to full charge it, that's fine. The Dream Breath side's going to basically be always online, and I think that you're going to like having all that extra healing over time effects, even when you're burst healing. Life Cinders and Draconic Instincts I think are exactly the same as they were before, although Life Cinders was nerfed at one point in the War Within, so it's only a 50% renewing blaze, not 100%. They found out that was a little broken. And, well, also new to Flameshaper, but the new row, Essence Well. Dream Breath and Fire Breath have a 50% chance to grant an Essence Burst. Twin Flame, consuming an Essence Burst, fires a Twin Flame, healing your target for an amount. Now, it isn't actually a bad amount of healing, and Fire Torrent will let another one go out, but you actually saw this earlier when I was trying to show off Marithra's Blessing, and let's see if I can get an Essence Burst. Sweet. It's pretty easy to use. These aren't echoable, so you can't like send out a Temporal Anomaly and get these to bounce, but they will in fact heal 2 targets. They're quite easy to use. So I'm actually really happy for this. It just makes your spot healing with echoes feel quite a bit better. So I'm happy to see this here. The big change though is Consume Flame. Verdant Embrace and Emerald Blossom will consume flame off your target, the Dream Breath off your allies. Verdant Embrace will consume 4 seconds of it and heal the ally that you hit for a detonated 200% of the amount consumed. And yes, by the way, with the triple Verdant Embrace talent, it is possible to heal 1 target 3 times in a row and just eat up the entire Dream Breath. That can happen. Emerald Blossom will do it, but for less time, but it will work on multiple targets. Note that Verdant Embracing through Echoes will not consume flame, just like how it wouldn't with Engulf before. Now, it's single target healing. All of this is single target. The person affected in having their flame consumed is getting the healing. I know this stings, but they're doing this across the board with all the healers, and this just means that you'll be healing less targets and doing less healing with that consume flame, but that is in line with the rest of the changes. And I think from an interactivity level, this allows for some crazy Blossom style AoE healing in Raid that I think has sorely been missed. And with the new 40-yard range Dream Breath, I actually think this is quite the goated change and will be very fun to play with. You are going to miss pressing a button and then instantly healing the raid, but given that's the design philosophy they're trying to avoid, I think this is a great step in their new healing direction. It will take some time to get used to, but the clunk is entirely gone because it's so much easier to just hit a target and be able to consume off of them with your normal tools. Your normal tools that might say power up your other moves still. So it doesn't feel like you're wasting a button or using a button to get the job done that's clunky. It feels like it's a part of your natural rotation, which is honestly something that I've been dying for to see out of Flameshaper. And to the devs that put this together, this is exactly what I was talking about, and I'm thrilled to see Flameshaper working the way that it does. I just want to note that I am a little sad that Enkindle doesn't make your Disintegrate have like this fire effect to it. That could have been really cool, or like a Blossom with a fire effect to it. That would have been some serious flavor text. But other than that, this is exactly what I wanted out of Flameshaper, and I'm thrilled to put it to the test. And I hope you all enjoy it too, because I think Flameshaper feels the best it's ever felt. And that was the problem before, was yeah, it did a lot of healing, but I didn't like how it felt. It was clunky, it was unnatural, it was slow. And while the effect was awesome and the parses were crazy, I'm much happier with something that plays better rather than simply the best in the game at being effective. So I hope people enjoy these changes, but you are going to have to get used to them one way or the other, and I hope this video has helped you ease it in. But before we go, I do want to talk about the changes that I want in case you've been skipping around and you're a developer at Blizzard and you want to hear my thoughts on the matter. So I think that Wings of Liberty refreshing Lifebind could be kind of nice, just to allow people to still do Lifebind setups. However, I am aware that you might be trying to keenly remove effective Lifebind setups and thus then keep it the way it is. But I do want to see this be, you get to cast it within 4 or 5 seconds after pressing it, not 3, as 3 is just a little too strict to fit everything in, and I think 1 second would make the difference, and letting it be 2 extra seconds would allow for like really crazy Dream Breath setups. But if you don't want that, I think 4 seconds or 3.5 seconds would make me very happy. While I'm talking about Verdant Embrace, I love Dream Simulacrum. This is a great talent, but I do think that a choice node with Verdant Embrace to choose between whether you want it to be a ranged Verdant Embrace or the jumping Verdant Embrace could be a really nice accessibility feature and a player customization feature. I like jumping around. Not everyone likes jumping around. And while Wings of Liberty is perfect for me, I think a player should be able to pick between these two and get the desired effect that they want in terms of if they launch themselves across the stratosphere or not. Right? Imagine if Wings of Liberty is meta, but a player much prefers the safety of Dream Simulacrum. It might be viable, but imagine it wasn't viable. They'd be put in a pretty annoying place, and I would rather see the choice be up here rather than here. I also do think that for Marithra's Blessing, it would be nice if Disintegrate could give us a Marithra's Blessing. As of my testing, and I've sent out quite a lot of Disintegrates, I have not been able to get a Marithra's Blessing to proc by using Disintegrate. And I think that was unintentional because it just says that when we use Essence, consume Essence, we might get one. I think this would be a really fun feedback loop, especially given that we have Energy Loop to restore our mana. I think that could be a fun way to play into the more offensive powers of Preservation. But as it currently stands, we can't do that, and I hope it's changed. I'll deal with it, I guess, if I don't. Or maybe I'm the most unlucky player in the world and can't get a Marithra's Blessing to proc for the life of me. But I did want to make sure this was in the video somewhere. But I also need to just stop and take a moment. I'm happy. The values are the only thing I worry about. I'm worried about Mythic plus scaling, and that eventually hitting the wall of infinite damage will cause problems, but I had my solution for that earlier, of maybe having the damage intake curve fall off as you hit the plus 15 territory of keys, and it becomes less aggressively scaled, and maybe just the health is going up. But other than that, and the things I just listed, y'all cooked. I love this. I love what you've done to Preservation. given the new design philosophies, given the concerns, and you want to reduce some of the button bloat. And what you have here is an unbelievably expressive kit with even more ways to work with your core rotations while cutting out some buttons, even some beloved buttons, and still manage to make something that feels incredible to play, even with some whack-ass stats. So I'm really happy to see this, and I think you guys did a great job. I'm going to talk about other healers on the channel as well, and potentially some tanks in the VOD channel if you want to catch that, but I'm really excited about Midnight. But now it's time for all of you. If you have any comments or concerns about preservation, leave them down below. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.